One of the worst things that can happen when you're watching a film is for a legitimately interesting character to suddenly disappear with no explanation. One minute they're there, part of the plot and serving as key motivation for the main player, and then whoosh, gone just like that. The film and the other characters just don't mention them, like, ever again. And it doesn't really make any sense. How does a filmmaker completely lose track of an actor? Of all the things that should be a high priority, keeping tabs on characters is certainly up there, right? And regardless as to whether or not there's an external explanation, it still makes for an incredibly frustrating viewing experience. So with all that said, I am Gareth, this is What Culture, and here are 9 film characters who randomly disappear with no explanation. Number 9. Maz Kanata, Star Wars The Force Awakens. The characters in Star Wars The Force Awakens are, for the most part, pretty brilliant. Sorry sequel haters, it's just the truth. And one of the most fascinating new additions is Lupita Nyong'o's Maz Kanata, who plays an absolutely key role in the narrative, guiding Rey as she begins to realize her Force sensitivity and gifting her the Skywalker lightsaber. At over 1,000 years old and enigmatically wise, she basically fulfills the purpose of Yoda, except she actually talks properly. The movie thus seems totally set to keep Maz around as a main player. She even teases an exciting answer to the question, where on earth did you get Luke's lightsaber, down the line. But then the movie just doesn't choose to keep her around. After Kylo Ren attacks her castle, forcing the main cast to flee, she disappears like a slain Obi-Wan Kenobi and isn't seen for the rest of the film. It turns out, however, that there is an explanation. In a 2016 interview with Entertainment Weekly, J.J. Abrams revealed that Maz was originally supposed to travel with the main characters to the Resistance base, and that Lupita Nyong'o actually shot some scenes, but they just felt like filler in the end. She came back later, of course, but it's still hard to get away from the fact she was mostly just a bit pointless in the end. Number 8. Kevin McKidd, Sergeant, Kingdom of Heaven. The main thing Ridley Scott's problematic Kingdom of Heaven gets absolutely right is its extended cast of characters. Watching the likes of Jeremy Irons, Eva Green, Brendan Gleeson, and Liam Neeson remains a total pleasure, regardless of the film's greater issues. Not every character gets treated in the right way, however. One of the people determined to accompany Orlando Bloom's Balian to the Holy Land is a sergeant played by Scottish actor Kevin McKidd, known for the likes of Brave, Trainspotting, and the TV series Rome. McKidd puts on a charming, charismatic, memorable performance as Bloom's companion, traveling the whole way to Messina. But then, when Bloom boards the ship for Jerusalem, he just vanishes. This might not be such an issue if he was just another foot soldier, but he's introduced to the audience as Balian's loyal friend, so his absence makes little sense. Some fans have speculated that he died in the shipwreck, but there's absolutely no proof of this, and his ultimate fate remains totally ambiguous. How strange. Number 7. Nick Van Owen, The Lost World Jurassic Park. While nowhere near as disappointing as Jurassic Park 3, The Lost World Jurassic Park failed to live up to the awe and tension captured in Steven Spielberg's 1993 original. The story is set 4 years after the events of the first film, and focuses on a deserted island called Isla Sorna, and this was home to a bunch of clone dinosaurs. Even the premise is lukewarm at best. Throughout the film, there are 4 fairly central characters: Jeff Goldblum's Ian Malcolm, Julianne Moore's Sarah Harding, Vanessa Lee Chester's Kelly Curtis, and Vince Vaughn's Nick Van Owen. And when all inevitably goes to hell because this is a Jurassic movie, these are the characters the film focuses on, which makes it incredibly baffling that Nick, who shows up at the very beginning and guides Malcolm through much of what follows, gets absolutely no narrative resolution. The last audiences see of Vaughn is when he runs ahead to the InGen workers' village to call for rescue. But that's not the close of the movie, is it? There's still a substantial amount of dino action left, including the Tyrannosaurus Rex attack in San Diego. In fact, at the very end, Malcolm, Harding, and Curtis all get to share in the profundity of life finding a way. But poor old Vince Vaughn is nowhere to be seen. What a damn shame. Now, while on the subject of Jurassic Park, I want to know, who do you think is the best character in the Jurassic franchise? You let me know in the comment section down below. Number 6. Katzo, RoboCop 2. Katzo is the RoboCop 2 villain who looks hilariously like Elvis, and is one of the movie's main criminals, a follower of Kane and a member of the Nuke cult. He shows up at the beginning of the film, causes RoboCop some trouble, and then just randomly disappears. There's no gory death or any form of justice, just one big question mark, which is a massive shame, not least because it breaks the unwritten rules of action cinema that villains must get their comeuppance. They must! Especially in a RoboCop film, right? Katzo, however, just walks out of frame, never to be seen again. After a bit of prying, curious fans managed to actually discover the truth. You see, in the original script, there is a satisfying conclusion. After a tense fight with RoboCop, Katzo is knocked into a vat of nuke. Here's a little extract. Katzo wallows in nuke, smiling ecstatically. Blood streams from his mouth, his nose, his ears. Now that's more like it. Why wasn't this kept in the film? Number 5. John Anderton's son, Minority Report. When it comes to characters who randomly disappear with no explanation, few are more narratively offensive than John Anderton's son in 2002's Minority Report. It's established at the beginning that Anderton's son, Sean, has mysteriously disappeared, fueling his separation from his wife Lara and contributing to his heavy drug use. Throughout the futuristic pre-crime plot, viewers are expecting there to be some sort of revelation or resolution regarding Sean, but the answer never comes. He literally vanishes without a trace, leaving behind a glaring, significant gap in the narrative. It's believed that there was a cut scene from the film that likely clears all this up though. After Anderton is haloed, he's supposed to see and communicate with Sean, who explains that he was kidnapped by a man pretending to be his father. The man traveled the world with him for a year before getting bored and killing him. Charming. During this scene, Anderton is then able to make peace with his son's disappearance. And that would have probably added a real weight to the events at hand, right? As well as being a nice bit of context for viewers too. So why on earth was it left out? Madness, I say. Thank you very much for clicking on this video today, my friend, and if you're enjoying what you're watching, then hit that subscribe button down below for more What Culture stuff in your day. Number 4. Pedro Jimenez, The Dirty Dozen. World War II assassination ensemble The Dirty Dozen stars a range of amazing actors, including Ernest Borgnine, Charles Bronson, Jim Brown, and John Cassavetes. The film also starred Trini Lopez, the massively successful musician, as Pedro Jimenez. Jimenez is present for most of the film's first half, including all the training sequences in the second act. After that, however, he just disappears, not taking part in the mission he was trained for and reducing the dozen down to 11. It's not got the same ring to it, has it? In the real world, what actually happened was that Lopez found musical success with his cover of Pete Seeger and Lee Hayes' If I Had a Hammer, which went to number 1 in 36 countries and sold over 1 million copies. Very impressive. He quickly demanded more money for his appearance in the film, and so the writers decided to just remove his character. They clearly did not try all that hard though, because from an in-film perspective it still makes no sense at all. Number 3. PFC Hburg, Among Other Bastards, Inglourious Bastards. As the aforementioned Dirty Dozen shows, the difficulty with ensemble films is trying to give every character adequate screen time and a satisfying narrative. When it comes to Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards then, a film that follows a group of 10 mostly Jewish soldiers whose sole mission is to kill Nazis in occupied France during World War II, the same difficulty seems to follow. Unlike his other ensemble pieces like Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and The Hateful Eight, which managed to satisfactorily balance a huge cast of main players, Inglourious Bastards introduces a bunch of people only to completely disregard them when they're no longer relevant. The likes of Brad Pitt, Aldo Rain, and Eli Roth, Donnie Donowitz stick around for the vast majority of the film, but characters like Sam Levine's Gerald Hirschberg disappear without any resolution or explanation, along with Paul Russ' Andy Kagan, Michael Bacall's Michael Zimmerman, and Carlos Fidel's Simon Sakowitz. What's the point of making a massive deal of the bastards as a crew if most of them are just narratively expendable? Inessential bastards, more like. Number 2. Peter the Psychologist, The Room. Narrative discrepancies in Tommy Wiseau's The Room say it ain't so. For a film so riddled with problems, The Room does a surprisingly good job at keeping track of all its utterly ridiculous characters. All except one, that is, played by actor Kyle Vaughn. Vaughn plays the psychologist Peter, who Wiseau's Johnny confides in about his love for Lisa. Peter also speaks to Mark, who is engaged in an affair with Lisa. You'd think, based on that description, that he's not a particularly main character, but you couldn't be further from the truth, folks. His influence on Mark is so great that Mark literally almost murders him, holding him over the edge of an open-top apartment. Peter is also the one who first learns the truth about the affair, and acts as a confidant for both of the main players. Get your plastic spoons ready, people. After his near murder, he just then disappears. The only narrative flaw in an otherwise perfect film. Yeah. And it's believed that scheduling conflicts caused the actor's character to be completely cut halfway through. So now you know. And number 1, Frenchie Greece 2. The biggest mystery regarding Grease 2 is why it actually exists at all. But that one at least has a plausible answer. Money. Yep, it's all about the money. The second then is the reason for the utter disappearance of Frenchie. Something that's pretty egregious given that Dee Conn was one of the few members of the original cast who decided to reprise their role. In the original film, Frenchie is one of the main members of Rizzo's group. That group being the Pink Ladies. With her bright pink hair alone making her a pretty memorable character. Who could forget this look? In Grease 2, it's revealed that Frenchie has returned to Rydell to get her high school diploma, so she can start a cosmetics business. Good for her. And for a moment, it seems like she's going to be one of the key links between Grease and Grease 2, easing the transition to a totally new cast. But then she vanishes, because of course she does, that's why she's on this list. Does she get a diploma? What on earth happens to her? Why did they bother hiring Dee Conn for so little screen time? Good questions, a lot of them, but ones which we'll sadly never have the answers for. It does not matter if they're the ones that you want.